I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
What did you say?
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it.
No, no!
Her policies are nutso, she's out her goddamn mind. She just repeats the same thing, regurgitating her lines. She thinks that immigration without paperwork is good. Clearly not too much power underneath Kamala's hood. Borders are, it's what you are. Borders are. Cackling Kamala, you're dumb. Mass inflation imminent if she weasels herself in. If that don't sound like fun to you, then you better help me win. I promise I'll secure you, you'll be in better hands. It'd be a flippin' free-for-all with what Kamala plans. Borders are, it's what you are. Borders are. Laugh it up, Kamala. This lady, she's cackling crazy.
They're going to help kick this thing off. All right, guys, ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Drivers, start your engines! Let's go, Brandon!
Dad, look at Tate's baby cousin. Look.
What is that?
It's her baby He's so cute.
So cute.
Wenn die Dunkelheit beginnt und die Nacht spricht mit dem Wind, Fantasien gehen Hand in Hand.
Please help us. We are dying. We are without food, water, or shelter, or any electricity. We need your aid. Understood. We're going to send $8 billion worth of aid. Oh, thank you. To Ukraine. Let's do that right away, ASAP. Come on. What? No, a hurricane has completely ravaged the people that you represent. Give us that money. Oh, don't worry. We're going to give you money. Every single one of you is getting $750 each. You sent $8 billion to Ukraine. You're going to give us $750? You know what? Okay, we'll take it. How do we get it? Easy. You just go online and apply, and if you pass the application, we'll wire the money right over. Okay, let me get this straight. You want us, people that are trapped in a town with no water, food, resources to spend $750 on, to go online when we have no electricity so we don't have any Wi-Fi, to get the $750? I'm black, just like one of you. What does that have to do? President Biden, please do something. We used to be respectable.
It's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
That lion bit!
Busted.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do
available.
and homelessness and all that.
And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
I'm kind of retarded.
I really don't want to spend much time talking about the vice presidential debate because it's a vice presidential debate. Who really gives a shit? A vice presidency is where a political career usually goes to die, and nobody really cares other than the possibility that that person could end up being the president. If they actually succeed in assassinating Trump or he has a heart attack, then you could wind up with President Vance. And alternately, if Kamala comes down with a case of cirrhosis or cunt rot, well, you get the idea. And while this debate was much less entertaining than the two presidential debates we've had, it definitely was the most entertaining vice presidential debate I've ever seen. But I guess that is a pretty low bar. And you could take somebody who didn't watch the debate, hasn't heard anything about it, and say, listen, I just want to show you a couple of still images, and you tell me who you think won the debate. Probably my second favorite part was when the moderators, even though they said they weren't going to be fact-checking, tried to pull that little just to clarify for viewers at home bullshit.
And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app, where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
Those laws have been on the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
What a bitch.
See, it's one thing to say, oh, we're not going to fact check, and then turn around and go, well, we're just going to do a little fact check. But then to have it be a twisted truth with manipulative language kind of fact check is just a whole nother level. And even though I know it was a slip up and he just misspoke again, but hearing him say that he'd become friends with school shooters was just... wow! And then right after, he starts getting asked by reporters, and he just decides to pretend like he can't hear them.
School shooters during the debate, can you clarify what you meant on that?
Can you clarify what you meant when you said you'd be friends with school shooters?
See, it wouldn't even have been that bad if he would have just owned it and said, yeah, you know, it was a slip-up, a little simple mistake, and you know what I was trying to say. Let's not... I mean, it would have been a perfect opportunity for him not to look like a frantic, nervous mess, but instead he's just like, no, I'm just gonna pretend like I don't hear them. And for all the people that were trying to blow smoke up their own asses afterwards and pretend as though he didn't shit the bed, it was hard for even CNN to do.
I think we shouldn't lose track, I think even in the civility, of the fact that J.D. Vance came to this debate to land a bunch of punches, and he did. He landed a lot of punches in between all the niceties and all of that. And the thing that really stood out to me was that Tim Walz did not seem prepared for it.
This shit from Politico really cracked me up. Yes, Vance's beard matters. Vance is the first White House wannabe to wear facial hair in 80 years. Research indicates that voters see beards as more masculine. That can be positive to some, but to others, especially women, it can be negative, conveying aggression and opposition for feminist ideals. Whereas Walz's wide eyes showed his passion. Eye-popping can sometimes be a sign of surprise, but for Walz it simply revealed his emotional intensity. Like during an exchange about abortion, the dynamic and emphatic facial motion grabs the viewer's attention. For Walz it gave extra weight to his feelings and held our gaze.
What a bunch of fucking bullshit.
And they very carefully cropped out his mouth hanging open, because that changes the whole perception. And if they really wanted to be honest about it, the last sentence should have been, but to some others, it can make him appear as a man who doesn't know whether to shit or go blind. But enough about that. In other news, Jimmy Carter turned 100 years old, and for all the news segments I saw on it, for some reason none of them showed any footage of Jimmy Carter that wasn't at least a year old. I wonder why that is.
That's a mystery.
It might be because anybody that saw said footage would be like, holy fuck, that's a dead guy. I mean, you want to talk about some for real no shit Weekend at Bernie's action? And all the reports are that he's telling his family he just wants to hang in there till Election Day so that he can proudly cast his vote for Kamala Harris. But Democrat Party officials have been assuring him that in the event that he does die before Election Day, he will still be voting for Kamala.
You're kidding me. No. Yes, but no. But yes.
This Hurricane Helene response sure has turned into a perfect example of the FEMA doing what they do best.
What are you doing? Fucking nothing.
The truth is that's being too kind. They've actually achieved the status of being worse than fucking useless. Again, more on that in a minute, but first I want to mention this. I tend to watch Good Morning America in the mornings because I kind of see ABC as like the flagship of state-sponsored propaganda, so generally I want to hear what narrative it is that they're putting out. On Tuesday, they did this nice little feel-good story coming at you live from Gastonia, North Carolina. Whereas that, it's a suburb of fucking Charlotte. And you've got all these locals getting together, loading up trucks to take supplies and water into Asheville. It took a few days before they could even make it into Asheville with anything other than a helicopter, and they cleared the way into there first, which, you know, it is the largest population center in the most heavily affected area. It also coincidentally happens to be the only blue area. But anyways, on Wednesday, they didn't have any stories on their YouTube channel about the hurricane. I thought I had seen one on TV Live, but sometimes they don't always make the cut onto the list of YouTube clips. And on Wednesday, they were just so busy talking about Paul Reiser's new movie and a dozen nurses having babies at the same time. Not to mention the best of Julie Andrews, and probably my favorite, kids being picky eaters may not be parents' fault, study says. But everybody keeps focused on Asheville and how their needs are vast and varied, and all of a sudden by Thursday nobody seemed to want to talk anymore about how many people were left out there unaccounted for still. I mean, this article didn't say anything about that. It wasn't addressed one time. They gingerly skip past the part where they say that entire towns were washed away by the storm, and cut right to as many as 1,000 soldiers will join the national... You know, let's compare that to something else, shall we? Like, I don't know, how many National Guard were deployed to the Hurricane Katrina response? Oh, 51,000. That sort of puts that 1,000, a single battalion, into context, doesn't it? And they go on in this article to talk about how the restaurants are basically, since their food is gonna spoil anyway, they're just setting up shit and feeding people.
That's a good thing.
It's seeming like all the best and most effective response is coming from the locals.
Oh, there's a fucking surprise.
And while Asheville has gotten most of the coverage, small towns that are harder to reach remain inaccessible with washed out roads or lack cell signal. Did I mention the part where they titled this article, Asheville's Needs Are Vast and Varied? And those that were able to regain some of the limited cell service that was restored, well, they started taking to social media and fucking begging for help, so you had local people that are like, hey, well shit man, I've got a helicopter, I'm a volunteer firefighter, so I'm gonna go rescue this person that's asking for my help on Facebook. And he does, and then he rescues other people. And then he gets to this one spot where he brings a woman down and leaves his son up on this mountain, and when he gets there and drops her off, he gets told by a fire official that he's gonna be arrested if he goes back up there. And the guy waves over some cops and threatens him again, so he asks the cops, he goes, look, you know, are you really gonna arrest me? And the cops were like, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be doing all that. But the guy ends up just grabbing his son and going home because, you know, what the fuck, it's not worth all that bullshit. And that's bad enough when you got some local dumb fuck chasing off somebody that's actually rescuing people. But then Pete Bootyjuice puts out an order saying that you're not allowed to fucking fly drones to go and search for people that need rescue. Why? Oh, because you might interfere with operations. So it's not bad enough that you're fucking useless. You have to discourage private citizens from actually doing what you should be doing because it would make clear your incompetence. So instead, all those people up there in the hills, they can just die of exposure or dehydration. Fuck them. And there are shit tons of local people all over social media talking about how they're trying to do what they can to help in their area and they're being prevented from doing so. And somehow I doubt they're all making it up. But instead everybody wants to talk about how the FEMA has delivered 1 million liters of water to population centers, and more than 5,000 households have contacted FEMA to apply for assistance by phone and online. But for all those places that don't have power, don't even have cell service, they're not even represented in this number at all, because how would they apply? A ham radio? A fucking carrier pigeon? And now it looks like the next storm might be headed for where I live, and I'm supposed to just keep sitting here pretending like weather modification doesn't actually exist. You try to bring this shit up to one of these smug little fake intellectuals, and they like to get real condescending and talk to you like you're just spouting conspiracy theories. Even though in the late 70s the US signed on to an international treaty to ban using weather modification for weaponized purposes. So why would we need to ban the use of something that doesn't even exist?
Good question.
And this goes back on record at least as far back as the 1960s with Operation Popeye. And this is back at a time when a computer the size of a house couldn't do what your smartphone can do. So you don't think maybe there's been some advancements in that technology as well? And then of course there's also the disclosures of the Navy physicist behind Operation Popeye. That's also something you're definitely not supposed to know about, because in addition to being able to create, strengthen, and steer storms, they can also very easily jack up the wind shear and blow the storm apart before it reaches land. But why would they want to let something like this happen? Well, some people think that it has something to do with the election and how all these rural areas that are saying that they're not going to have power back until next fucking year all happen to be very red areas in battleground states. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with certain major corporations wanting to expand the mining of lithium and other rare earth minerals in western North Carolina. I mean, that would be silly. Why would anybody want to make billions of dollars?
Right? Right.
There's also the furtherance of the climate change agenda. These reasons are not mutually exclusive, and I believe that it's all of them. Of course, the news, from ABC down to the local newspapers, is reporting that the biggest problem here is all this misinformation, and pushing this line that somehow all these people saying that FEMA sucks at helping people is somehow preventing them or making it more difficult for them to help people. Am I missing something here? Because that seems to make no fucking sense. And I'll leave it there for right now. I gotta get ready to go out to a punk show tonight. That's why this video's coming out a couple hours early. Gotta have fun while it's still there to be had. Sláinte.
All I have in this world is my thoughts and my words, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night to the bad guy. 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 Come on. Come on. with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! I told you! Don't fuck with me! You stupid fuck! Look at you now! Look at you now!